Once you've defined the topology, we'll go on to step 3. We click Next, and we arrive at the definitions for traffic rules. Here, we invoke either the application-aware routing policies, that is, where does the traffic go, what paths do traffic go on, based on SLAs. This is also where we can invoke traffic data rules in terms of if I want to do QoS, if I want to redirect traffic, do traffic engineering, various other things that I want to do with my applications. And also being able to define central flow templates for the application traffic in this environment. So let's create a traffic rule policy. Again, there's a button here that says Add Policy. I click on that, and it gives me the option to either create a new one or import existing ones. You'll see from the previous cases in this lab environment, there's already a number of pre-built policies. So if I wanted to import them, I could do so.
So this would be a policy maybe that's not activated, that was built already in another?
Exactly. This allows you to reference things that you've already done. That is, prevent duplication of work effort. If I've already created things, I should be able to import them when I'm creating these policies. For the purpose of this demo, what we'll do is create a new one. So again, add policy, and create new. This brings me to a section where it asks me to name it and provide a description. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we'll start adding the different rules. You'll see right now the default action is set to drop. That is, if I don't explicitly permit things, it will end up in the default action queue, and that traffic will be dropped. So let's add in some specific rules. What I'm going to do is add a rule where I'm going to say, for the purposes of this demo, let's actually create something custom where I drop certain types of traffic. So I'm creating a custom rule where I add in the specific rule, and I'm going to invoke an application type. As you may recall from where we had defined the objects, I'm going to invoke this list called social media that we had created. And for this type of traffic, what I'll do is I'll choose to drop all this traffic. As a result of this policy, in my network, anytime there's Facebook or LinkedIn traffic, that will get dropped. I save this policy. And once I've defined the rule, I'm going to save this.
So Ali, instead of dropping, can I just pin it on internet transport?
Certainly. So let's look at that scenario as well. I'm going to click on Edit for this rule. And under the action statements, I'll accept it. But now what I may want to do is bind it to a specific T-lock. And here I'll specify within this section what T-lock to use. That is, for social media type of traffic, only permit it on a specific T-lock, and then I will define what that T-lock is over here. So I go ahead and say, for my local T-lock, only use my business internet link. Do not use my MPLS type link. As a result of this policy statement, my social media traffic is now restricted to use my internet transport and no other. Once I'm done with this particular rule, I will go ahead and save it. Now that my rule is saved, I'm going to save my overall policy. And it will bring me back to my step 3 page where I'm defining all the different traffic rules. Now here I have the sample data policy defined. So in the scheme of things, we have defined the groups, We've defined a topology rule set. We've defined what's going to happen to a specific type of traffic. So the next step will be step 4, the applying of the policies. We go ahead and click Next. And we end up on the application page. Here, at step 4, it now knows we created a topology policy in which we are manipulating a certain set of routes and a certain set of T-locks. This is where it asks us to apply it to specific sites. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll add the sites. And this is where the conversation about direction comes, inbound or outbound. Again, this is from the perspective of the vSmart. The vSmart and the vEdge relationship, when vEdge sends information to vSmart, it's going to get applied an inbound policy. And the vSmart, when sending information to the vEdge, applies an outbound policy. Remembering what we did in that policy was we were applying a certain rule set where we're changing the preference for our RFC 1918, but we were denying T-locks from anything classified as a small branch. So let's do that. Let's make sure that the vSmart rejects anything coming for T-locks from an edge device classified as a small site. So based on the direction, I realize I actually want to drop the information as it's being learned by the vSmart. So I select the inbound direction. In the inbound site, then I will specify small site. Anything classified as a small site as it tries to send information to the vSmart will get applied to this topology policy, and its T-locks will be denied. So I add this. And now I have this framework. Apply this topology policy on the inbound direction, that is as vSmart is learning information from the devices, from the edge sites, that anything classified as a small site should be subject to this rule. So this is where I've defined what's happening with my topology. But I'd also define traffic rules. So let's go ahead and apply those. So I go to traffic data. And again, I'll select the policy that I'd written out and apply. Now, in the case of this traffic policy, it's asking for a direction from tunnel, from service, or all. When you think about the data plane, you have vEdge to vEdge communication. Traffic that comes from the LAN side is what we call service. So the traffic as it's coming in from the LAN side into this vEdge on the LAN side is what we'll call service. So if I were to select the from service option, that would mean any traffic in this direction. From tunnel refers to the WAN side. That is any traffic coming over the wide area into this edge device. If I want this rule applied in both directions, then I'll select the all rule. Now remembering what we defined social media traffic should only be on the internet link. So what we're going to define this as is as traffic comes in on the LAN side, as you choose to service it and send it out on towards the wide area, that rule means select from service. What sites do I want this subject to? Well, let's use the list. And we'll apply it to anything classified as all branches. So any traffic coming from all branches from the LAN side, if it is Facebook or LinkedIn, only send it on the broadband link, on the public internet link. In which VPN? So as you'll know, our topologies and our policies are VPN specific. What that means is you have to select which segment you want this rule to be applied in. So I'll apply this rule in my corporate segment. So as you can see here, there's a corporate VPN and PCI VPN. The PCI I don't even want Facebook or LinkedIn to be operating. I only want this for potentially my corporate segment. So I'll specify that, but only do this for my corporate segment. Once I've defined what's going to happen to the traffic at the sites, in which segment and in which direction, I add that rule. So this is where I've defined the construct in terms of any traffic coming from the service, or LAN, within my corporate zone and not my PCI zone, at all my remote branches, should send its social media traffic on its internet link only. So looking at what we've done so far, we go to topology, where we defined a topology policy. We go to traffic data, where we've defined a particular policy for the traffic in this environment. And we've defined where it's going to get applied, to whom it's going to get applied, in what segment, in what direction. We've defined all those parameters. Now we're ready to make this go into effect. So we'll name this, call it central sample policy. And then we will save this. And what we'll see now is we have this new policy constructed called the central sample policy with a description for demo purposes. And this policy is now a holistic policy that has all the definitions: what topology to create, how to treat traffic, to which sites this will go into effect, in what direction, whether it's LAN or WAN. All those parameters are defined in one place. When I'm ready to activate this, I'll go to the menu item here. And I will use the activate option. And then this policy will go into effect. Based on what you've seen, you can see there's a number of options. You have flexible control, but very, very granular control over your entire environment. Anything from routing, from tunnels, from application treatment, QoS, all those parameters controlled in one place. This is a very powerful tool, but it's also a simple tool to manipulate your environment.